If you've ever seen someone get a payment from the CRA and you wondered to yourself, wait, why didn't I get that? That's not random. Most people miss these benefit payments from the CRA for the most boring reasons. Either they didn't file, their information is wrong, or the CRA is just using outdated info. In this video, I'm going to give you a checklist to make sure that you receive the benefits you are entitled to and that you don't walk away with $0. The first thing we need to understand is essentially your tax return when you complete it is your application to all the benefits that the Canadian government offers. Whether that is your GST, HST credit, the carbon rebate that used to be a rebate in the past, the child care benefit, anything like that. Once you do your tax return, that is the portal to applying for these benefits. Okay. So these benefits are very important for low income earners, students, anyone maybe new to Canada, and you want to make sure that you are getting this added benefit that you are entitled to and that you can have by making sure that you complete and file your tax return. So making sure you complete and file your tax return if you're a student, new resident, or a low income earner so that you are able to get benefits that you are entitled to. So the number one thing here is you need to file. But let's talk about the GST HST credit. So if you go on the Canadian Government of Canada website, you can find this GST HST essentially page, which tells you who is eligible for this criteria, how do you receive it, what is the amount that you can receive. If you look at eligibility here, it says that you must be a resident of Canada for tax purposes. Okay, so you have to be a resident of Canada for tax purposes. This is not a legal immigration thing. This is just for tax purposes. And again, that depends on factual or if you were deemed a resident. Okay, so if you stayed longer than 181 days in Canada or more than 6 months in Canada, you are considered a deemed Canadian tax resident. And then you have the factual ones, whether you have a spouse, children, anything, a home, anything like that, primary, secondary ties. That determine whether you are a Canadian resident, a resident of Canada for tax purposes. So that's the first one. And also that you must be 19 years of age. But if you are under 19, you have a spouse or common law, or you have a parent and live with your child. Okay. So the income level, if you're looking at the income level, the amount, so not everyone is entitled to this. There is an amount here that states whether you are a single individual without children, single parent with one child, single parent with one or two, and more, as well as if you're married, low, common, no children, married common law with one child, married common law with two children. So you can see here, if you're, let's say, a single individual without children, the amount that you would need for 2024, they haven't updated this for 2025 yet, was 56,181. Okay, if you had more than that, you would not be entitled to the GST HST credit. Okay, so again, these are things you need to consider if, for example, you are married, or if you're just a single parent with more than, with a child, or with children with more than one child, etc. You get the amount goes up. Okay. Now, if you're wondering exactly how much you would make, well, it depends, and these are just little guidelines. So again, if, for example, you are making, I don't know, if you're a single, no child, and you're making $50,000, you're entitled to $309.05, and that would be based on an annual a number. So remember, your GST HST credit is paid out quarterly. These are the annual amounts. So again, you can see this $1,066. That is the yearly amount you get back for GST HST. And the reason why the GST HST credit is a thing is the point of it is to help low income earners not have to pay the GST HST that they usually do on all goods. So essentially, this is like giving back the money that you pay on GST in your daily life, whether it's groceries, electronics, anything like that, where you're paying GST, HST for, they're saying, okay, well, if you're a low income earner, you're going to get it back. Okay, so that's very important here. Um, so there are a couple things there, with if you have shared custody, if you are, divorced or separated, but yeah, those things, there are some things to consider there. So what you want to make sure when you're trying to get this GST HST credit is you want to make sure that you file your tax, because again, they'll know your net income or your family household income based off of your tax return. Okay, so you'll log into your CRA account, make sure you check that everything's correct with your address, and all your personal information. You want to turn on direct deposit so that you're not getting mailed checks for your GST HST credit, but rather for it to go directly into your account. Otherwise, you'll have to wait. Perhaps it gets lost, and a lot of things can happen here where it's not good for you. So it's best for you to have direct deposit actually open. Um, Again, if something has changed, make sure that you update it. Maybe you moved houses, go into your CRA website and change that, so that they can have the most updated information. That will also affect, again, they'll mail the check. You don't want it being mailed to the wrong address and then not being able to find it again. Yeah. So again, you want to make sure that you check your CRA notices, your notices of assessment as well. Make sure everything's aligned, and yeah, just to go from there, you want to file your tax return. And when you are filing your tax return, if you're planning on doing it yourself, I do recommend Wealthsimple Tax. Wealthsimple Tax is the software that I use for filing tax returns. I think it is the most user-friendly and easiest one to do. There's a link in the description. If you fund your Wealthsimple account, we both get $25, which is great. So these are some things to consider when filing your tax return. All right, so these payments, remember, for your GST, HST credit, they're not random. They're calculated based on your income, and based on your actual household income and your household situation, whether you have children, whether you're married, whether you have a common law. So it is calculated correctly based off the information you give them. So if you want more Canadian tax videos like this, subscribe. In the next video, I'm going to talk about one of the biggest tax traps Canadians hit when buying and selling homes. So stay tuned for that. Remember, this is general information, not personalized tax advice.